You always hear over winter,
Yeah.
the June, July specials for South Africans to the local lodges. Do South Africans go locally to the bush over this period?
They certainly do. Not as much as we'd obviously like. The challenge, I suppose, is trying to educate people that winter period is the ideal time to actually go to the game lodges. Mm-hmm. Game viewing is phenomenal, but the tendency is more in the summer rainy periods.
Andy, your experience locally?
Yeah.
So you have a few lodges here locally.
No, we do. I mean, I think the domestic market's very important to us. I think we've excluded the market in the past, and we've opened up a new brand which is more positioned. It's more mainstream proposition, positioned at attracting the local market into remote areas. We essentially offer unique experiences or original experiences, we call them, in pure wilderness. So we tend to be quite remote. The cost of access is quite high, but we're trying to drop that cost. We're trying to drop, the affordability. We're trying to make it more affordable for the local market.
You guys have made that differentiation between, you've got two distinctive brands now, one which obviously is aimed at the local market and one which attracts some of the local market, but more international market into the exclusive lodges.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's quite interesting. I think the whole world at the moment is looking for more value. So we're seeing, in the recession, we all thought that the top end, the really expensive product would hold up, and it didn't. In fact, it got hit the hardest. So, and the product below that caught the drop out of the top end, and the bottom end probably grew. So there was quite an interesting dynamic to understand. So the international market is also buying down. A lot of people see it symbolic leadership issues that they relate to that they're also looking for more value.
You guys have also got a fair differentiation within the Thornybush Collection, where you've got a really top end lodge going down to even self-catering facilities. How important is it to have that mix available?
Well, it's been to our benefit, having the self-catering right through to the five-star lodges. You are catering for different markets, and in terms of marketing, we have spent quite a substantial time over the last 3 years branding the Thornybush Collection. You do find that you have guests that prefer to drive down to the reserve, which is 5.5 hours. Those that can afford to fly in, as Andy mentioned, it can be quite a costly exercise, but we do have some charter flights that do fly directly into the lodges. So you are catering for different ends of the market there.
When you look at packaging up a product, I mean, how do you go about it? If you offer, let's say I'm offering you a concession somewhere in Zambia. How do you go about looking at that and seeing whether it's going to be worthwhile?
Look, I mean, in our Wilderness Safaris brand, we sell journeys and experiences. So we tend to advise on what we call ideal circuits. And generally, we're selling experiences. We're not a product-based tourism offering. We're more an experience-based tourism offering. In the Wilderness Adventures brand, which is the old Safari Adventure brand, we're focusing more on selling bed nights. And generally there, the market's more educated. They know what they want. They're buying a bed night. So they don't need that specialized itinerary advice. So on Wilderness, we advise on itineraries. On the mainstream proposition, Wilderness Adventures, we're selling a bed night.
Are you, generally speaking, and I suppose you can't really come up with a mean to this, but how many lodges is your average overseas client visiting? Because you have offerings all over Africa. Are you finding that they will do a few nights in Namibia, a few nights in Zimbabwe, and a few nights in South Africa?
Look, it would be wrong to say that there's an average, because we've got people who are traveling 3 or 4 countries in one itinerary, and so it's very, very different. But the benefit of having a journey is that you don't have to sell the bed night every 2.5 nights, which is probably the standard, sale in the Mpumalanga region. So we're selling our beds every 5 to 6 nights, probably on average. And in that time, I'd say they'd be doing two camps with us, as a minimum. Yeah.
Do you guys find that is the norm within your collection as well, Andre? That people are going into maybe Thornybush Main Lodge and spending 3 nights there, and then spending 2 nights at Simbambili, or
not actually. What we have done over the last 2 years is trying to promote, long stays, trying to educate guests that, going into one of our lodges for 2-night stays, it's not the best option. Rather stay for 4 nights. Another route that we have taken is we found that with the smaller lodges, we are trying to sell exclusive use. So we have found that it has been quite popular in terms of South Africans taking a family of, say, 8 and spending, say, 4 nights in the bush. So effectively, they're getting exclusive use of a gaming experience.
Yeah. Where did this whole thing of 2 nights at a lodge come from? Whose brain dead idea was that in the first place?
No, I mean, for anyone who understands the bush, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
You don't get the opportunity to relax and enjoy it. So
But that was the norm.
Yeah.
Even for international guests,
Yeah.
they would spend 2 nights, and I just don't understand where that came from.
Look, I think you'd be surprised. I still think it is the norm today. People are packing in. Probably, if you look at America, where we've got quite a lot of Americans coming. They only get 14 days leave a year. So when they pack in a holiday, they want to do Cape Town, they want to do maybe Vic Falls. So 2.5 nights in a camp is probably the maximum they can afford if they want to see a variety of camps.
Your Christmas bookings, of course you're going to say, no, I'm not happy with them. Neither of you will be. Nobody ever is. But are they up on last year?
They certainly are. The Christmas bookings, we are full. Up until about the 15th of December, it's normally quiet. I mean, that's when people really go on holiday.
Yeah.
Right through to about the 3rd, 4th, 5th of January.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of tapers down a bit, and then we pretty much working into the new season.
Okay, let's talk about, before we get back to Andy and see what they're doing over Christmas, let's get to the new season, 2011. What are you guys looking like? Have you got, is there much action yet?
We did a comparison on 2 years back. I mean, we weren't going to go and look at World Cup period, which was quite good for us. So we pretty much on par on 2008, 2009. Obviously, the challenges, the forward bookings, and looking at the inquiries. I think everyone, even from tour operators, are getting quite frustrated with the number of quotes that they're having to do because people are shopping around. Mm-hmm. So it's really closing those inquiries and looking for the right product that people want. I mean, guests are also surfing the net as well and doing their homework.
You guys, firstly, Christmas?
Christmas, look, we got 70 destinations, so I'd like to say we're full in everyone, but we're not. But, look, Christmas generally you're going to be full from, the 22nd of December through to about the 8th, 10th of January. So it's generally a full period for you, but pre that period and post that period, you're probably at the lowest travel times in the world. So generally Christmas is a hard period to measure. We're probably above expectation. We're happy with what we've got. 2011, it's going to be another challenging year. The rand's very strong, and it hurts this industry quite hard.
How do you then start trying to get you can't hike rates, or it's very difficult to hike rates. Is it then just cutting costs to try and extract shareholder value? Because the shareholders are going to come back and they're going to want their piece of money.
No, they're looking at us closely, yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think the opportunity that these times present is one where you can re-engineer your business model because you can drive change in your organization. I think the reality and the way we look at things at the moment, our source markets are going to be in a deflationary environment for the next year and maybe next 2 years where there's going to be a downward price pressure. What Andre said is 100% correct. Productivity has been affected because we're taking twice as long to close a booking. In line with all of that, we've got to protect a business model. So yeah, you do. You look at efficiencies. You look at driving change in your organisation to do things differently, and it's quite exciting, funny enough. I mean, the concept of investing to lowering your operating costs is an interesting one, and it's not always easy, but it can be done, and that's what we're looking at the moment. Yeah.
I can just see shareholders going, investing to save money. Nah, failed. Andre, you guys, are you going through is it a similar scenario?
Absolutely. It's very, very challenging. You've got to think out of the box, look at what market you're actually dealing with and offer the pricing that they're willing to pay. You've got a couple of mouths to feed along the way. So it is a challenging channel cost. But at the end of the day, we're all in it.
I'm going to ask you both a question now, which you can decline to answer if you want to, but it's something that has always fascinated me. Why is it that people, and here I'm talking about stakeholders and landowners in your industry, just seem to have such huge egos? And that I think
for you, Eddie.
that was a hospital pass there from Celliers. It just appears, I mean it. If you look at the Sabi Reserve landowners, they all fight with each other. This one won't let, you can't shine your light onto another person's property. What is it with these oaks' egos?
Well, let me answer it in a different way, because I think, I'm not about to take on the landowners of the Mpumalanga region. I think the opportunity that exists moving forward is a concept of which we classify as collaboration. I think we need to, we need to work together. I can honestly say that at the moment, if I look at our competitors, I don't think I've ever been on a more friendly basis with our competitors. We're sharing a lot more information. We're working together. I think we all recognise that competitors are quite healthy. And that's from an operating perspective. From an ownership perspective, well. There are a few more issues that come onto the table, and it's a little bit more difficult because people have different expectations when they're property owners. We at Wilderness are a little bit different. We tend to lease our land from national parks and from community concessions, so we tend to avoid getting into this property area. But having said that, I personally have investments in the property in the bush, and they're tricky. They're not always easy to meet. You just got to drink a lot, Jeremy.
That's usually what I do when I go to the bush, actually. It's a juggling act, but it's one that you guys are doing very well. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on Mansfield's Money Sense. Andre Celliers from Thornybush and Andy Payne from Wilderness Safaris.